Hi, and welcome to our festive video with tips to improve game performance on mobile. This time of year can be expensive, and the last thing you need is more cost. If there's one area you can make great savings, it's how you handle draw calls. Draw calls commit a set of render states to the pipeline for rendering. The state gets stored in a set of data structures called descriptors. In OpenGLES, descriptors are implicit and built on the fly as draw calls are submitted. This is a lot of work. Minimizing the number of state changes between draw calls reduces the number of descriptors that need to be built. This makes draw calls less expensive. Here's another tip. Static objects might use identical render settings and materials. These can be statically batched offline into a single larger draw call. This reduces the total number of draw calls that must be rendered each frame, but can make frustum culling less effective. That's because it's more likely that only part of a mesh is on screen. Instance draw calls provide an effective way to submit a batch of objects to the GPU using a single draw call. This can be really efficient in the terms of CPU load, but can have some downsides on the GPU. When rendering only a single instance, you should use a normal non-instance draw. That's because instancing can disable some shader optimizations for any uniforms which are array indexed by the instance ID. An example is uniform preloading. Also, remember to frustum test individual instances on the CPU. Redundant geometry processing is expensive in the terms of power and memory bandwidth. We can't talk about low draw call cost without talking about Vulkan. A major design goal of the Vulkan API is to reduce the CPU costs of rendering. For example, explicit state construction is used to reduce the amount of draw time work. The design simplifies building multi-threaded rendering that can exploit multiple CPU cores. Here's something to try. Use ARM Mobile Studio to look at the CPU load of your game. You can also monitor draw calls per frame over time to check whether you have too many for the GPU to handle. Well, that's the end of the video, and I hope you found it useful. You can find more tips on optimizing mobile graphics on developer.arm.com. Thanks for watching the video, and enjoy your festive holiday.